of many different animals all bunched together in the cave, bones that are broken and all. And in trying to figure out how they got there, they've determined that it was a violent force of water pushing them in, wiping them out, and many of the animals, the bones of them are animals that prey on other animals. Thus, they could not have all been just deposited there over a period of time or by accident, but evidence for the flood. It's an interesting thing that as you look at evidence, you usually have a predisposition. You don't believe in catastrophism, you believe in uniformitarianism, that all things have continued as they were from the beginning, that there has been no catastrophe, and thus you interpret all of the evidence according to that theory. Or you believe that there have been catastrophes such as a universal flood. And as you look at the evidence, you interpret the evidence according to the fact that you believe that there was a universal flood. As you look at the evidence, however, you will find that the evidence for a universal flood is much stronger, much greater than evidence of uniformitarianism. There was an interesting book written by Immanuel Velikovsky back in the 40s called Earth in Upheaval. And it is a book that really thoroughly destroys the idea of uniformitarianism, that all things continue as they were from the beginning, that there has been no great catastrophes. Hard to explain the frozen mammoths that are found in the icy tundra of Siberia. Frozen in place, fast freeze. What caused it? The meat was still edible in these mammoths. And how is it that they were frozen in place? And so there have been catastrophes. There is a theory of the polar axis shift, that every once in a while through history, there's been a shift of the polar axis so that what is presently the North and South poles were not always the North and South poles. This they have demonstrated through the magnetic forces and so forth, the alignment because of the magnetic forces in stratus. And this could be a possible explanation of the flood, that it wasn't all caused by just rainfall, but it was caused by a polar axis shift. And with the shift, there would be a great move of the ocean floors, or the ocean itself, the water. And as the water would be dumped out of one area into another area, that the weight of it would cause the tectonic plates to sort of submerge, and the pressure would force up other mountain ranges. And they believe that that's how the Himalayas were formed as the result of the fact that the oceans rushed into this lower area, and with the pressure of the water, the weight forcing up the Himalayas and that range of mountains. It's a very interesting theory. There's a lot of works that are written about this theory, and it could definitely explain a lot of the enigmas that we have in the understanding of geology. If you throw away the idea of uniformitarianism, it all begins to make sense, and it is very interesting to look at the writings on this particular subject. How it happened, we're not sure. That it did happen, there is plenty of evidence, and the Bible seems to have the explanation. God was destroying the earth because of the wickedness. We read in chapter 8, God remembered Noah and every living thing and all of the cattle that were with him in the ark. God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month, and in the 10th month, the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were now seen. It came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark, which he had made, sent forth a raven, and it went to and fro. The waters were dried up from off the face of the earth. And so he sent forth a dove, and to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. The dove found no rest for the sole of her foot. She returned to him, to the ark, and for the waters were still there on the earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her in and pulled her into the ark. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. The dove came to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf that was plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and he sent forth the dove, which did not return unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 600th year, the first year in the first month, and the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth dried. And God spoke to Noah, saying, Go forth out of the ark, you and your wife, your sons' wives, bring forth with every living thing that is with thee, and all of the flesh, both of the fowl, the cattle, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth with his sons and with his wife, and his sons' wives with him, and every beast and every creeping thing, and every fowl whatsoever creeps on the earth, after their kinds, they went forth out of the ark. And Noah built an altar to the Lord, and he took every clean beast, of every clean beast and every clean fowl, and offered a burnt offering on the altar. The Lord smelled the sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more everything that is living as I have done, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. And so God established the seasons of the year. God blessed Noah and his sons, said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, and the fear of you and the dread of you will be upon every beast of the field, upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moves upon the earth, upon all the fish of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. every moving thing that moves shall be meat